Hey guys, Claire here, and in today's video, we're going to talk about all things Harry and Meghan. Now, this week we got two sightings of the couple. The first was just Harry and Meghan after attending some sort of business. Harry was looking very laid back and relaxed, and Meghan was looking chic and relaxed as well. There were so many people that were commenting on the fact that Harry was wearing a California cap, um, and commenting that the cap and just his overall attitude in general seems to be very laid back. California type of laid back, to be specific. And I agree. I think he looks very happy and well rested, and that's wonderful. We also got to see Prince Harry and Princess Lily while attending a 4th of July celebrations with their neighbors in Montecito, and there was a blurry photo of Harry, Meghan, and Archie and Lilibet at the festivities as well, but it was kind of blurry. But it was so nice to see them out and about. It was so nice to catch a glimpse of Lilibet. She looks like she is going to be a tall one. She's adorable, red hair, just like Harry. And I saw a lot of people discussing who does she look like more. Some people say she's like a spitting image of Harry and the Spencers. Some people say baby Meghan. Personally, to me, I think they look like a nice little combination of both of their parents. And most importantly, they're happy and healthy and well loved by their parents, and that's what really matters. So it was so nice to see them. Now, while everything seems to be very laid back and relaxed over in Montecito, not so much for other family members across the pond. This week, Charles and Camilla had a sort of mini coronation of sorts in Scotland, and it was kind of a mess. Remember, at his main coronation, there were a lot of protesters, specifically the Not My King protesters. And, well, yeah, those protesters showed up again in Scotland, as well as some other protesters. Not all of them were carrying Not My King signs, and there was a lot of booing as well. Boos and chants of Not My King that were so loud that it could be heard from the building that the coronation, or the mini coronation, was taking place in. And some of the photos released showed, the monarch and his consort, as well as the next in line and his wife. And they just, I don't know, they don't look particularly happy. I feel like the last time the four of them looked genuinely happy was that photo that they took during the mourning period of Queen Elizabeth. I think the realities of a King Charles and a consort Camilla, as well as all of these protests. This time there was no egging, but all of the protests and unrest does seem to be weighing on Charles. I don't know. That was a mess. Now, thank God for social media, because there were so many people who were in attendance or was around the area that showed the lack of crowds. And most of the people who, well, some of the people who were looking on with glee were tourists. Someone even caught a tourist saying, "That's it." When Charles and Camilla drove by, they were like, "That's it?" Very lackluster, very uninspiring. So, yeah, social media shows you a completely different, raw, and unedited version of events as opposed to what you read in a lot of these tabloids. It's a hell of a thing.
Here comes the cortege, as you can see, for the new king. Still not packed really, but people coming along. Let's see, they're going pretty fast. Obviously doesn't really want to say much to the people themselves. Let's have a look at the boy. Give him a wee thumbs down. Sorry, pal. Zipping past. That was it. No Union Jacks, no massively cheering people, just basically tourists having a gulp. Is that it? Indeed.
Also, while I was watching the events unfold for the Muni coronation, I can just think of the last time Harry and Meghan visited Scotland. The crowds and the love that they received is a direct contrast to what Charles Camilla received this week. Very, very interesting. Just saying. Also, the hosts of a neo-Nazi podcast who made some really disgusting comments about Prince Archie has been convicted of terrorism offenses and will be sentenced in September. This is just another set of people who have been convicted for just saying the most disgustingly horrific things about Harry and Meghan's relationship, their children, and still, even after all of this, we haven't heard one peep from King Charles, aka the King of Diversity, about all of the racism that's been directed towards his grandson. Still, not a peep. But remember, he had the most to say about the crown, right? He spent weeks moaning and groaning about the crown, but still nothing said about the racist, terrorist things directed at his son. Remember, people were arrested for saying that Harry's a race baiter, for daring to marry and procreate with Meghan, and now these people who said what they said about Prince Archie, like, not one time has Charles said anything. And to me, like, I'm not even gonna really go into what I really think about him. A lot of people say things about William and Kate and Camilla. You don't see Camilla screwing over her kids for some good PR. You don't see Camilla pulling security from her kids because they're not doing what she wants them to do. Charles, I genuinely can't stand that man. I think he's a horrible person, a horrible monarch, a horrible father and grandfather. And, seeing him not enjoying the reign that he's spent all of his life waiting for, dealing with the eggings and the protests and the boos, I don't feel sorry for him. I don't. There's so many opportunities for him to make things better and just show an ounce of humanity and compassion and caring, and at every single opportunity he chooses not to. Horrible person. But I'm happy that the justice system has seen fit to convict these men, and let's hope that in September, when they're sentenced, it's going to be very tough. Lock them away and throw away the key. Also, I don't particularly care too much about William and Kate, but I could not help but see my timeline being invaded by photos and a very odd looking video of them interacting at a polo match. Now we know Harry and Meghan gets dragged through the mud for displaying PDA, for holding hands. And we've seen on some occasions Kate trying to, touch William, and he's sort of like, no, no, thank you. And this week was no exception. And that interaction, I feel like some of the interactions that I've been seeing between them sort of reminds me of Trump and Melania, when Trump would look at her and then her, like a mask would show, and her facial expressions would just switch in an instant of an eye. And I feel like sometimes we see that with Kate lately.
I want to highlight something that Crystal81 wrote in response to one of my videos on William. She said everything we expected of him is embodied in Harry and Meghan. It's truly sad to witness. According to the royal family's official website, some of the duties of the monarchy are to provide national identity, display unity and stability, and support the ideal of voluntary service. In a time when more people than ever are questioning the idea of a monarchy and how it fits into a modern society, living up to these standards that they have set for themselves is crucial for the royal family if they want to remain relevant. This is particularly true for William and Kate. Charles has largely solidified his legacy, and many eyes are on the Prince and Princess of Wales to see if they can do a better job of upholding these ideals. But time and time again, it is not the Prince and Princess of Wales who represent the values the monarchy claims to stand for, but instead, it is the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Again, the royal family states that they create a national identity and unity between the UK and the Commonwealth. They need the citizens of those 56 nations to feel included and seen. Yet William and Kate have consistently had negative feedback on their royal tours they have done throughout the Commonwealth, with many resulting in uncomfortable images and pushback from the people themselves. William and Kate could not capture that national identity and unity that the monarchy needed, but Harry and Meghan could. The monarchy also needs stability, and while the idea of a stable, loving family is pretty much out of the question at this point, they can try to project the image of a stable, loving couple, right? They want the world to see a great love story where two people from completely different worlds found each other, fell in love, and continue to remind us all every day what true love really looks like. But William and Kate don't seem to be that love story. Harry and Meghan are. And the monarchy needs to be of service to its people. The royal family needs to be seen as making life better for those they rule over. With their vast wealth and privilege, they have the opportunity to not just show up for photos or use a cause for positive PR, but to make real change for the better.
We have a responsibility as well that if we're part of social media, if we're engaging in that way, that we are not just giving people more things to chat about, but actually something to do. Exactly. And that's why I say, what's the call to action? A hashtag is not enough. Right?
William and Kate haven't found the call to action, but Harry and Meghan have. I think Crystal is right. Harry and Meghan embody everything the monarchy and royalists expected out of William and even Kate. And instead of embracing Harry and Meghan's abilities and talent, accepting that there are things Harry and Meghan are just better at, they would risk letting the entire monarchy fail because the spare can never outshine the heir.
I'm often late to the party, so forgive me if this has already been discussed, but why are more people not talking about how King Charles and Queen Camilla are very closely associated with a lot of people who like to abuse children? No, I'm not talking about him, I'm talking about the other person. No, not that person, this person. This is Peter Ball, and he was a former Church of England bishop before he was convicted of SA in 2015, after it had been happening for decades. In fact, when Charles and Diana were having marital problems, Charles sought the advice of Peter Ball, and you know what Peter told him? Pursue the relationship with Camilla. Yep. That's what he told him as a bishop for the Church of England. I didn't think they believed in divorce. How close were they? Well, they were close enough for Peter Ball to attend King Charles and Queen Camilla's wedding in 2005, and he was also invited to give the homily at Camilla's father's funeral. Peter Ball was very well connected and knew people like Margaret Thatcher, judges, and even headmasters at private schools. In 1992, the first investigation into Peter Ball was launched when a monk under him was accusing him of some very grotesque behavior, and they had enough evidence to take it to trial, but they decided to issue something called a caution. I'm not from the UK, but I guess it's basically you're admitting to guilt. It will be on your record, but you get to go on and live your life. Peter Ball was also supposed to resign from his post, but surprise, surprise, less than 2 years later, he was back preaching and was allowed with young people unsupervised. Now here's the part that boggles my mind. So Prince Charles used the Duchy of Cornwall to purchase a property, which he in turn rented to Ball and his twin brother from 1995 to 2011. But Prince Harry and Meghan, you gotta go. You can pause to read some of the correspondence between Prince Charles and Peter Ball, and why is that last sentence giving me deja vu? A second investigation into Peter Ball was launched in 2012, and he eventually admitted to abusing 18 teens and young men over a span of 15 years. He was released from prison in February of 2017 after serving half of his 32-month sentence. A 2019 inquiry said that the church didn't help the victims and that Prince Charles misused his influence.
You know, when I look at this picture of Kate and William, it explains a lot to me. Now, number one, this is a relatively young couple in their 40s with 3 children. And they have roles to play because they are next in line to become King and Queen of England. And I understand that they have to go through these rituals and they have certain roles they have to play. They have certain duties that they have to carry out. But they, to me right now in this picture, look like 2 completely miserable people in costumes. And, you know, and I can tell that they're just not happy. No one can convince me that these 2 people are happy. And just by virtue of the fact that they're wearing these completely odd-looking, weird-looking outfits, and they never seem to smile. They never seem to carry out these duties in a way where they look joyful doing it or enthusiastic about doing it. Lets me know that it certainly is just, you know, carrying out a ritual. Aside from that, it also would explain some of the animosity, I think, towards Harry and Meghan, because we are living in the 21st century and looking at the duties they have to carry out and the clothing they have to wear. It's like they're still stuck in things from centuries ago. It seems that the monarchy should be able to carry out the duties they have to carry out in a more modernized way. But they're still doing things the way it was done hundreds of years ago. So to me, it does, in fact, it would explain some of the animosity they have toward Harry and Meghan, because they're still able to do things that people do in the 21st century and not in the 20th century, the 16th century, the 15th century. So it makes a lot of sense now. But, you know, there are a lot of rumors circulating that these 2 are having some extreme marital problems. Now, whether that's true or not, well, hey, I don't know. But it's being said every day. And if you were to go by some of the pictures that I've been seeing lately of the 2 of them, I would say they may not be too far-fetched. The monarchy, royal family might need to consider beefing things up as far as what's expected of people in their duties, making it a little bit more modernized. They might need to think about that.
So I'm watching the news last night and I saw that there were protests against the King. Not my King, they were yelling by protesters in Scotland, I believe. And I went to have a look and said Royal Family News, and what popped up? Prince Harry, Prince Harry, Prince Harry. Prince Harry wasn't there. Okay, then I scrolled down and I saw The Independent, 2 arrested after coronation protests on Edinburgh's. Then we went back to Meghan Markle bullying, High Court Harry, Prince Harry. Okay, then it was, you know, same Royal Family News. Prince Harry and Meghan, Prince Harry, UK family, what does the King do? What's he going to do about those protests? And then a Mirror, Meghan Markle, Prince Harry. Where's this news? Oh, you have to type news about King Charles. I see. I get it. So anything royal news is Harry and Meghan. And then if you want specifics of any other members of the family, you have to type in their names. Same thing with Harry and Meghan, of course. But royal news is all about Harry and Meghan. Today's papers as well. There's a lovely picture of Kate there, but no mention of the protests. Okay, The Guardian, well done. They actually acknowledged it. And a close-up for you. Not my King. Mine neither. The Times, as expected, just went with a fancy picture of them in their fancy gowns, Harry Potter style. Not a mention here in the Financial Times. The Daily Star, this did make me laugh. Old man gets a new hat. Those kids who do this newspaper, you kids, well done. And no mention of the Daily Mail, but didn't expect it. They're talking about the crossbow attacker, which is from some time ago. Yeah. And while I think this story is very sad and needs to be shared, no mention of the protests against King Charles. Can you imagine if it was Harry and Meghan who had those protests? Every paper, the same images, the same lies. But I'll leave the haters with that, because this would make my day.
Yeah, like imagine that your friend who was a journalist, after attending a luncheon that you hosted, writes a horrendously misogynistic statement about wanting to see your daughter-in-law publicly stripped down and shamed in a violent manner. And you have no condemnation to offer, no public statement denouncing this. Can you imagine what Buckingham Palace would have to say if anything of a similar sentiment was published about Kate? And this criticism extends to Charles just as much as it does to Camilla, because neither of them came forward to call this out. Harry himself described the silence as deafening.
I really do struggle to understand how there wasn't a greater backlash regarding Buckingham Palace's silence on this matter. Harry describes the family as being built on a hierarchy, and that because Camilla was on her way to being queen consort, there was going to be people left in the street because of that. He feels that her willingness to forge relationships with the British press made her dangerous. And if your relationship with the British press is preventing you from speaking out when they say that they want your daughter-in-law to be attacked in the streets, then yes, I think that we have a problem.
Press's focus on Kate and her role in the statement is pulling focus. It's drawing attention away from what is in the rest of that excerpt, particularly Clive Alderton, Charles' private secretary, and his attempts to amass power within the royal household. Within a royal household, there are 5 key roles. The private secretary, who functions much like a CEO, the keeper of the privy purse, who functions like a CFO, the comptroller, who functions like a comptroller or accountant, the master of the household, whose equivalent could be seen as a COO, and the Lord Chamberlain, who is supposed to oversee everyone. In a traditional business structure, the CEO is at the top and the other executives report to them. However, in a royal household, all of those positions are supposed to be equals. In Charles' household as Prince of Wales, he seems to have given Alderton free rein to take more control over the household in general, more control over the various other positions that are supposed to be equal to him. In the excerpt, Lowe describes the various ways in which Alderton is attempting to maintain that power in his transition to the palace. Upon arriving at the palace, he formally requested all other heads of the household departments come to his office and greet him formally. He took control of organizing the coronation, something that is traditionally done by the master of the household. A compromise was made, and the master of the household took over the coronation concert. Lowe brings up how quickly Alderton sent out notices to redundant staff members and how quickly they were actually dismissed from those positions. Alderton had the Queen's apartment's locks changed just days after her death, preventing her former staff members from entering those premises. All of these actions seem to have not ingratiated him in with the rest of the palace staff. From the outside, it looks like Alderton is doing his best to make his colleagues as unhappy as possible. The sort of infighting, this jockeying for who has the most power in the household, leads to stagnation and an inability to promote actual change, either in the monarchy or within the country. A source described it to Lowe as a complete inertia, an inability to make decisions, to lead, to think about things strategically. They are so worried about their own positions, they kind of lose track of what being a leader is.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, hit that notification bell.